Here it is. It's Pollinators Month.
It is.
Welcome to Bloomers in the Garden. I'm Len Schroeder.
And I'm Julio Zamora.
Today's show is going to be all about pollinators. And so you're wondering, what the heck is a pollinator? You know, they're so important that they get not only a month, but they get their own week, June 19th to the 25th. So if you've ever wondered what a pollinator is, we're going to cover that in our first segment.
Butterflies are the most popular of the garden pollinators. It's a strange dichotomy because those same butterflies pollinating your plants start off as caterpillars that eat your plants. We'll take a deep dive into what came first, the caterpillars or the butterflies, in our second segment.
Over the last decade, I've watched bees go from a nuisance stinging pest that you wanted to kill them to now they're this beloved, cherished savior of the known world. The facts are that honeybees are once frightening insects like hornets are now man's best friend to a productive harvest. In our third segment, we'll discuss the benefits of honeybees and bumblebees and what you can do to help them.
Like butterflies, hummingbirds are jewels of the garden, almost as beautiful as the flowers they get nectar from. They also are very productive pollinators. Listen in during our fourth segment.
So during our fifth segment, our final segment, we're going to talk about the best practices for encouraging pollinators. That includes growing plants that butterflies will lay eggs on and also feed as caterpillars and pupate.
So stay tuned. We'll be back in the garden right after these messages. Bloomers in the Garden is brought to you each week by Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Bloomers is an award-winning garden center just 20 minutes from Philadelphia. Bloomers has been providing expert advice turning brown thumbs green for over 30 years. At Bloomers, we want you to ask us every question, even if you think it's silly. We share information in a friendly, non-judgmental way that is meant to teach and spread the joy of gardening. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center in Washington Township, Gloucester County. For directions, go to bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden.
Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
Fertilome's Triple Action contains 70% neem oil and 0.25% pyrethrins as a concentrate and ready to spray. It is an insecticide, fungicide, and miticide labeled to use on vegetables, fruits, nuts, herbs, spices, and ornamentals. This organic OMRI-listed product controls a wide variety of insect pests and diseases, including aphids, scale, spider mites, whiteflies, rust, leaf spot, and powdery mildew. This insecticide is an all-in-one bottle that will cure just about any problem you may run into throughout the year. Fertilome's Triple Action has been helping gardeners across the country for years. Best to apply in late evening and early morning hours. Mix 1 ounce, which is equivalent to 2 tablespoons in a gallon of water. The best part is Triple Action may be used up to the day of harvest. So the next time you are visiting your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilome's Triple Action and expect to have the best-looking plants in the neighborhood.
You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or hear us on the radio each weekend. Every Saturday morning, Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley, first at 8 a.m. on Talk 860 WWDB and again at 9 a.m. on AM 800 WTMR. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard through the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 a.m. WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Hey, June is National Pollinators Month, so what the heck is a pollinator?
Well, let me tell you, Mr. Len.
I'm ready.
The National Park Service says that a pollinator is anything that helps carry pollen from the male part of the flower, which is called a stamen, to the female part of the same or another flower, which is called a stigma. The movement of pollen must occur for the plant to become fertilized and produce fruits, seeds, and young plants. Some plants are self-pollinating, while others may be fertilized by pollen carried by wind or water. Still, other flowers are pollinated by insects and animals, such as bees, wasps, moths, butterflies, birds, flies, and small mammals, including bats.
That's
Wow,
right.
bats.
At night.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, before the show started, we were talking about how, the native people that are out there,
Right.
that are, a little different, have also a counterpart, or they may be the same people that have, invasive species issues where they, well, now we're specifically talking about butterfly bush. Butterfly bush was considered an invasive species. So what's happening is that some of the varieties of plants that we've known and loved that are getting a bad reputation are becoming sterile.
Oh.
So as far as like the pollen and things that would create seeds that would make them invasive, that's going away. So I'm wondering how that affects pollinators.
Right.
That's where, like,
Good
I like
question.
nativars. Give
Right,
me,
nativore.
give me a nativar, which is a native plant that is a better looking, better behaving, better performing
Productive,
plant. I'll take that. But where some of the varieties that are basically sterile
Right.
may not be the best thing
Thing
for
to
your
have.
pollinators.
That's right.
But then there are some that are. So, it's something that we are educated on, and it's something to ask, but still, pollinators, whether it's a butterfly, a bee, a wasp, a bat, are important because everything that we eat, just like, we said seed, but that could be tomato. That could be an eggplant. That could be any of the vegetation, corn. It could be soybeans, all of these things that if they're not pollinated, we don't get the fruit or the vegetable or the harvest of the crop. And that's why pollinators are so important. And that, I'll tell you, there are some statistics for pollinators. Let's see, that's 1,200 food crops and 180,000 different types of plants, which helps stabilize our soil, clean our air, supply oxygen, and support wildlife. All require pollinators. So, you want a healthy economy? I do.
Yeah. You did.
Pollination by honeybees contributed over to 19 billion of crop production. Wow. And this is going way back, so it's more than this. So 2010, other insect pollinators contributed 10 billion. So you're talking about $30 billion in food crop production.
Just by the honeybees.
Just by pollinators.
Right.
Your garden would be a better garden if you had more attracted pollinators, because they would be pollinating all of the flowers on your vegetables or your any of your other plants that you want to produce. And it's a vegetable. Is a tomato a vegetable? It's supposed to be a fruit.
Yeah.
I'm not getting in that argument. If you guys want to take up an argument, go ahead. Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Horticultural sparring. I'm ready.
Right.
But the key is creating an available plant so that you can make up for some of those plants that have been deforested or plants that aren't available like they used to be. So really important.
Yeah. Can you imagine if we didn't have these pollinators?
Yeah, we'd be dead.
I know.
We'd be dead. Or,
Right.
I mean, it would not, we'd be dead.
Yeah. Well,
And
like you
so-
said here, it says 1 out of every 3 bites of food you eat exists because of pollinators.
That's right. That's right. And one thing that most people don't realize is that I told this story before about where a truck turned over in California, and that it was hives that were getting brought to the almond fields, that they actually move hives around. And that happens in this area, that happens out west and everything else, where they actually take the honeybees and bring them to the crops to pollinate. So, it's kind of like, migrant insects. They go and they take care of the crop and
Right.
pollinate it so that the production is higher.
Yeah.
So,
I like
very
that.
important.
Yeah, very important. Ooh, goodness.
Honeybees, unfortunately, have had some issues where there's hive collapse. We're going to go into that in a little bit broader detail later. When we say and talk about insecticides and read the label, we used to have T-shirts that said B-E-E, responsible. Yeah. And it was being responsible about how you applied insecticides and how you took care of your home and yard. And that some people are like, we talk about imidacloprid, which is an insecticide that we love because it's a drench and it doesn't go on the plant. And that way you can't hit the bee and kill the bee. Right. We talked about a study that was done on clover and where it did not transfer, the insecticide did not impact the pollen into the where it affected the bees. But I also have a picture where it's a guy spraying imidacloprid, and this is like a commercial application, and he's shooting it into the tops of the trees, and it doesn't get applied that way. And that be responsible. Be responsible.
Yeah. You got to know what the ingredient, not only the ingredients, but what directions,
Yeah. What the directions say. And my suggestion is that have a section which is devoted to pollinators and just let it get ugly.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be beautiful because of the flowers and everything else that you get, but the leaves may not be perfect because some caterpillars are going to be eating them.
Yeah,
but you know what? We're going to talk about that in our next segment. Mm-hmm. So stay tuned. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Coast of Maine's Organic Castine Blend Organic Raised Bed Mix is the best soil for raised bed gardens, planter boxes, and container gardens. It grows amazing vegetables. It is made with a mixture of manure compost, worm castings, lobster and kelp meal, mycorrhiza, green sand, and biochar. It's ready to use straight out of the bag with no need for additional components or tilling. If you love growing fresh and hearty vegetables, herbs, and flowers, Coast of Maine's Castine Blend Organic Raised Bed Mix is the perfect choice for you. At Coast of Maine, we believe in growing organically and buying locally. Castine Organic Raised Bed Mix can be found at these fine stores. Pickering Valley Feed and Farm, Exton, PA. Ashcombs Farm and Greenhouses, Mechanicsburg, PA. Sickles, Little Silver, New Jersey.
Is she gone?
Nope, she's still standing there.
What is she doing?
I think she's watching the grass grow.
That's our job.
I know, right? She's watching the grass grow, the flowers grow. Ooh, look, the trees are growing.
Can't say as I blame her. Remember where she bought all this stuff.
Duh, bought us there too.
Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Find us online at bloomers.com.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. All butterflies start life as a caterpillar, eating away until they are ready to pupate, spin a cocoon, and miraculously transform into a butterfly. Oh, my goodness.
I think that's what you did, Julio.
I did that. That's how I came in this world.
You pupated and came out like
spread
your wings.
Swing my wings out.
That's it.
Miraculous
transformation. But it's true. We were discussing, all right, so what happened first? Was it the caterpillar or the egg?
Oh, gosh.
Well, and it's because the eggs were somewhere, but I doubt that they were on the plants that you just planted or Yeah, could have been.
Could have been.
Could have been, because some butterflies will overwinter as a caterpillar.
Yeah.
But that's another show. Some of the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, basically the Northeast, we get a lot of different butterflies.
Oh, yeah.
And that we're going to rattle off some here that are probably the top ones that you'll see. And being that this is radio, Aaron, are you going to be able to put up on our YouTube page? You can put up some images of the butterflies that we're talking about. So if you go to our YouTube page, that you'll be able to see what we're speaking of. American painted lady, that's a butterfly on the orangey side with mostly orange with black tips. Very pretty. It is a fan of asters. So if you are growing asters in your perennial garden, you'll probably see them flutter around. And, people call them flutterbys, butterflies. Yeah, I understand it. I understand it. My favorite, black swallowtail.
yes.
Okay, black swallowtail, I think, is the epitome of the actual butterfly.
Yeah.
It's beautiful when it's different stages where it'll look a little bit different, but it has that, when those wings are open, it has that blue towards the tail, but it's mostly black with yellow spots. And then the actual butterfly's body itself is unique, where it has some spotting on that. It's black with white spots. But if you look at the tail, it has two round dots that look like eyes. This is to fool the birds, and that it looks like, it's like, all right, I'm going to attack it, so I'll get it right like by the head, and it's actually where the nose would be is actually below the butterfly, so they miss. So a lot of interesting things that go on. Julio, do you plant for butterflies?
Well, all my perennials are pretty much pollinators.
Or pollinators?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
I got sage, and I have I have echinacea. I have liatris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Black swallowtails love parsley, and they not only love parsley, where you'll see them, and again, that flutterby, they're laying eggs when they're fluttering over the top of your plants. So we have Shirley at Bloomers. She actually will set up it's just a basic half barrel where she'll put parsley and dill and fennel and some rue in there, and she'll fiercely defend it.
Yeah.
Don't touch it.
She'll even cover it.
She will cover it. And that where the black swallowtails and even the tiger swallowtails will lay their eggs there, and then before you know it, we have a lot less green leaves and a lot more caterpillars, and then they pupate and become butterflies. So it's something that's easy. Parsley, I would suggest doing your pollinator garden farther away from your, harvesting crops, so you don't end up having to deal with the decision of, do I spray, do I not spray, do I eat the caterpillars? So but go ahead and plant some of these things like parsley and dill and fennel, and they just attract their attractants to these butterflies because the caterpillars eat it. So you always have to think, it's like, oh, it's nice to have butterflies, but, it's like, all right, what are they going to eat? So, and that we love something that Centerton Nursery had done, and they do it mostly in the late summer, fall. They have something that's called caterpillar candy, and it's specifically types of plants grown specifically to be eaten by insects, which I think is kind of funny, and it's specifically meant to be grown so that it's caterpillar food. And then that way it prolongs, and that the caterpillars can feed and then do their thing on that, so that you have a next crop for next year. Black swallowtail. Now, we talked about that. Monarch's going to take a while. Eastern tiger swallowtail. That's the bright yellow one that you see. I mean, again,
I like that one.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything that I said about the black swallowtail, just instead of saying black, it's yellow. So it's a bright yellow, very pretty, blue, rounded oval margins around the base. Very beautiful butterfly, and they're big. They're almost 5 inches across.
Oh, they're huge.
You know, again, it's the classic thing that here in this area that we can say, oh, that's a butterfly.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a moth. Right. There's a bunch of different varieties. Julio and I were talking about. There's one that we'd love to be able to see, but we don't see it that often. I have never seen one. It's called a red-spotted admiral. It is a iridescent blue to black. It's just beautiful. I have never seen one, but it shows that there are sightings throughout all of New Jersey. And I want to just give kudos to a website. If you go to this site, www.nabasandboya.org, that you will find specific areas of the country like New Jersey, like New York, like Pennsylvania, that where different butterflies have been seen, located, and that identified. So just, again, it's naba.org. Check it out. Awesome. Monarch butterflies.
Oh, boy, I tell you.
Probably the most popular, most identified.
Yeah, I think so.
That I absolutely love monarch butterflies. And it's not so much because they're so beautiful. It's the fact that they have an amazing story. And like the three of us on the ride over to the studio today, we're talking about how it's like a God thing.
It is.
Now, understand this. Typical monarch butterfly only lives between 2 to 6 weeks. Okay?
Yeah.
They migrate from Mexico to our area, all the way up into Canada, through the Midwest, and through areas along the coast of California. Now, it's like, oh, nice. But the issue is this is far.
Yes.
One butterfly takes that trip and ends up into breeding grounds and then has, let's see, it's how many generations, Julio, do we say? 4 to 5 generations.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, so, you know, you've got the first one. Let's say it stays here. It lives for a month. Then it lays eggs, it dies. Then the next one. Then the next one. And after 4 or 5 generations, they've made it to all the way north that they're going to. And that last generation becomes what they call a super generation. It's larger, okay? And this is the one that actually migrates back to Mexico. Oof. And you know, how is it possible that it does that? Well, what it does is it goes and it has a hormone that allows them to live 8 times longer. Like it would be like us living to 400 years old.
Oh boy!
So it'd be the same time.
I'll take that hormone.
You're gonna say, if I see you chomping on a monarch butterfly, we're gonna have a talk.
I might be eating escapias.
But it's amazing, and that when that kicks in, it's telling them that for instance, like they need to head back south. And it's also a hormone that controls them when they need to migrate north to us. Milkweed is the one plant that they feed off of. There are a lot of different types. There's a wild milkweed that some of you may know that it's a big, ugly plant. Smooth leaves. The smooth leaves are big, and a lot of times you'll see it along the highway. You'll see it in like wet areas. You don't have to pick such an ugly one for it to work. You know, some of the orange flowered, and there's even now white and yellow flowers that will attract all of the butterflies, a monarch specifically, and that when they eat this, they become poisonous to other predators.
Wow.
Right on?
Great. Isn't it a great thing to have, to eat something like that and nobody's
going to mess with you?
That's right.
That's what
I like that. Superfood.
There's a lot of jokes in there that I'm just going to leave go. That there's plenty of things you can eat that people want to be around you. Tacos?
Yeah.
Okay, monarchs feeding on milkweed protect them from predators because they become poisonous and they left alone. The monarchs that you see around your house, they are in transition. And that I have seen at Bloomers and other places, that super generation, that's a last generation when it's on its way back.
Yeah.
But you've got to think about this. Okay, how in the world does that last generation know where to go in Mexico?
The same spot, right?
You know, it goes to the same spot,
Yeah.
and it does. And it's only pretty recently that it's been discovered of where they are. Yeah. It's amazing. There was a PBS series on talking about butterfly migration. Do a search for it under PBS, you monarch butterfly, it'll come up. It is great. It is worth watching. It is. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed
At how many there are there.
Oh, no, it's not just that. It's just the whole fact that, 4 or 5 generations removed that they know to go back to Mexico. I mean, they're dead. I mean, they die, and then that generation continues, and then that generation dies, and then the next generation continues. It's not like,
And they're way up
it's
north.
not like their grandparents are saying, it's like, yeah, you got to go to this tree in Mexico. There's nobody to tell them that they need to
They
go
don't have
there.
a GPS system?
Yeah, no. In their head they do. And again, that goes back to that thing. It's like, I was placed there somewhere. Now, there's another type of monarch. Let's call him a monarch ripoff. That he looks like a monarch, and it's called a viceroy. And a viceroy is the common person. The common person would think that it's a monarch butterfly, but here's the difference that you can tell, in that they have a different. Their black striping is different compared to the monarchs. So
Well, I tell you, it's close, though. Phew.
isn't it? It's almost identical, and
I know.
we'll put that up side by side at the Bloomers in the Garden YouTube page. Let's see. They can detect a thin black line that curves up across the hind wing. I'm looking at a picture of it, and I still can't see it. But viceroys can be detected by the thin black line that up curves across the hind wing of the butterfly that monarchs do not possess.
I don't know, man.
And why do they look like? Because they're telling other other predators, it's like, look, I'm a monarch. You can't eat me because you'll get sick and die. But they do not migrate.
Imposter.
They breed on willow as opposed to milkweed. And they surprisingly survive the winter as caterpillars.
Wow.
So very cool. But
Very
it's
nice.
the thing that amazes me is that trip that those monarchs take, going from Mexico all the way up and then back, and that it's multiple generations. So it's not like hummingbirds. We're going to talk about in a little bit, where hummingbirds go and fly back to Mexico. So they're, I made you do a bad joke a couple of weeks ago. What did the hummingbird say? It's like, boy, are my wings? I just flew from the Gulf of Mexico, and boy, are my wings tired. Anyway, but where it's a different generation that goes back.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing, isn't it?
Amazing. Also amazing are honeybees, and that's what we're going to be talking about in our next segment. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Do you think you have insects eating away your nice, beautiful lawn? Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below is the product for you. Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below not only controls chinch bugs, which is a surface-feeding insect, but also controls grubs, which is a subsurface-feeding insect. It does it all, guaranteed. When most homeowners see their lawn turning brown in the summer, they think grubs. Damage from the larva, Japanese beetle. But in many cases, it could be chinch bugs. Chinch bugs are hard to see because they are so small and you'd need to get down on your hands and knees to see them. If you misdiagnose your problem, Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below has you covered. The product will control both chinch bugs and grubs. This summer, control your pest problems with Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below. It also may be used in flower beds, on landscape ornamentals, trees, and shrubs. Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below will also control crane fly larvae, ants, mole crickets, sod webworms, bill bugs, and many more. Your property will be pest-free with Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below. So next time you're visiting your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilum's Bug Blaster Plus Above and Below and expect to have the best-looking lawn and landscape in the neighborhood. You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or hear us on the radio each weekend. Every Saturday morning, Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley, first at 8 a.m. on Talk 860 WWDB and again at 9 a.m. on AM 800 WTMR. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard through the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 a.m. WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. We're talking pollinators.
Talking pollinators.
Honeybees. Honeybees are in the news, and that you'll see it. The hives from honeybees, which, you know, those wood boxes that you see that beekeepers have.
Yeah.
That what's been happening is that the hives will all of a sudden, like, everything's dead. And they'll go in and they can't find the bees and they can't figure out what's going on. It turns out that there's a heavy emphasis put on to it's a parasitic mite. It's actually bee parasitic mite syndrome. It's a complex of symptoms associated with varroa mites and viruses, or a combination of both. Brood combs of affected colony. So when they're trying to figure out what's going on, that the colonies show uncapped pupae. So what happens is that they just aren't hatched. Some with their heads chewed off.
Oh, gosh.
Snot-like larvae.
Oh, brother.
Workers with deformed wings and a high mite load. The adult population of bee is so generally small and dwindling, it just basically, it can't function. That mite is really, both here and Europe, it's been an issue where they are saying that is it. Now, also, our favorite insecticide has been targeted, which is, again, imidacloprid. Folks, imidacloprid will eventually be going away. It has gotten the, let's just say it has gotten to the politicians, and the politicians are slowly, by state, getting rid of it. It has been banned in Canada, but there also is a new generation of the imidacloprid that is not as dangerous to bees. But we talk all about organics, right, Julio?
We do.
We do. Last week, and we do an ad for an organic right now, which is an excellent insecticide. Organic insecticides kill bees. Okay? It's not something where it's just imidacloprid. You need to be smart how you're applying insecticides to your ornamental plants. And that we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. But it's a host of things. It's not just one thing that's causing the bee collapse. Also that some folks say there's inbreeding going on with the bees, and the fact that they are worker bees, like we talked about, that they're going and they're pollinating fields and everything else, and then they're going back to the hive, and they're just not getting the, let's say, the genes upgraded into their hive the way that they could or should. That's been something that I've heard beekeepers talk about. And you know what? Ultimately, it matters to us as humans because they do such an important job with making our plants and vegetables and fruits productive. So we really need to create an environment that's a safe environment for honeybees especially to be able to do their thing, to go over and pollinate our plants. At the beginning of the show, we talked about how people were terrified of bees. Do you remember the days? Like we used to sell hornet and wasp spray, it was, like it was
crazy.
Nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, it was ridiculous. But and that we have, there's a plant that's called inkberry. Any of you guys out there know it? Ilex. Probably in everybody's front yard. It's a foundation plant, and it gets flowers.
Yeah.
And when they go in flower, have you noticed the big black wasps that cover those things? And it's only for about 2 weeks, and then it's gone. And and that again, it's those little flowers. They're little tiny white flowers, and it's everything from flies to honeybees to these big black wasps that look really scary. Like cartoon scary, the Looney Tunes thing where it's going to hurt you. That they get all over it. And that people are terrified.
Oh, scared.
Bees don't care about you, okay? They only care if you're going to try to crush them, catch them, do something stupid, except yellow jackets. I think yellow jackets things are vindictive. They just want to kill you.
That's right.
It's like, you just stay there. I'm going to get 30 of my brothers. We're going to just wipe you out.
Right.
But where other bees, like standard, especially honeybees are tame. Bumblebees. I'll go up to a bumblebee and I'll pet its back.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
You're a nice guy.
I just look really cool. But they're not something that's going to be like aggressive. They're not aggressive. So
they're not.
When you start moving your arms around, trying to run away from it, hornets and wasps can be a little more aggressive. We were talking about at the store, we were talking about carpenter bees, where carpenter bees like stare you down. Like they hover. They look at you. Look right dead, looking you dead in the eye. You go ahead.
Don't come near me.
And then you walk by them and then they just go somewhere else. They're just playing chicken with you. But most bees are not going to be so violent. But if you are allergic to bees, like remember Jenny last year? Our bookkeeper got bit by a bee and she had major complications from it.
Right.
So we have to make sure that we keep them out of the office.
Yeah, we do.
But the thing that you need to do is have a separate area in your yard away from your I'm saying away from your vegetable garden. So that depends on who's apart from your vegetable garden so that they still can get to it, but it's not something where they're, when you have, say, Japanese beetles eating all your plants and you need to do something about it, and it's not going to affect the bees. But again, end of the show, we're going to talk about that. What else you have, Julio?
I got a couple of facts here, Len. I want to share with everybody. Bumblebees are living tuning forks. Yes.
Really?
Using a middle C tone to propel thousands of pollen grains from a flower in under a second. How's that?
What, is that a middle C?
That's a middle C.
Go, Aaron.
Yeah, all right, Aaron.
That's a middle C right there, somewhere around that perfect pitch.
Another one is scout bees return to the nest and do a waggle dance. All right, a little waggle dance here.
You've never returned to the nest and did a waggle dance? I know Aaron has.
Of course.
And to inform other bees, all right, about the distance and direction of a new flower patch. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
I love that.
I love.
Yes, these
it's
are
nature.
incredible.
It's
Incredible,
nature and it's
incredible.
science. It's
Yeah,
science.
they know their
How many
stuff.
people? How many people did it take to watch that and said, "All right, He's moving his bee butt to the left and 4 to the right, and it's like, all right, that's Mr. Jones' yard. But again, with bees, there are plenty of plants that attract bees, and almost anything with a flower. Yeah. But again, we talked earlier in the show, right, Hul, about the sterile plants that are being produced that they may not have pollen. Anything. They may not have pollen. Some of the best perennials: clematis, cosmos, dahlias. They're not a perennial, but I would say echinacea for sure. Foxglove for sure. Like, if you ever walks on a foxglove, the whole bee inserts its entire body into there. Lost. Geraniums. We have an example of a geranium right here in the studio with us. Hollyhocks, absolutely. Beautiful. Roses for sure, for sure. And one of the things that you got to keep in mind, you want plants that are early flowers because the bees are starving. They're looking for something to eat.
That's right, yeah.
And
you have to keep it going,
Bee balm, another one, catmint.
Catmint, yeah.
Oh, catmint's crazy. Yeah. And also are the ones that like butterfly bush, anything that's got a butterfly. And a pollinator is a pollinator where you'll be surprised. Well, you'll not only get butterflies, you'll get bees, but you'll also get hummingbirds. And hummingbirds.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in our next segment. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
Dreaming of a gorgeous garden? Give your azaleas, rhododendron, blueberries, and evergreens a powerful boost with the #1 acid-loving plant food, Espoma Organic Hollytone. Hollytone is a perfect blend of natural, long-lasting ingredients that nourish plants for stronger roots, faster growth, and bountiful blooms. Plus, it's easy to use and safe for people, pets, and planet. Visit espoma.com for a retailer near you and helpful gardening tips. Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929.
You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or hear us on the radio each weekend. Every Saturday morning, Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley, first at 8 a.m. on Talk 860 WWDB and again at 9 a.m. on AM 800 WTMR. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard through the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 a.m. WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have your hummingbird feeders up yet, folks?
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Hummingbirds are the brightest thing in a garden next to flowers. Attracting these flying jewels is easy and rewarding, and you're going to love it. We've got some suggestions for you right now.
And it's easy because we only really get in our listening area, we really only get ruby-throated hummingbirds. Yeah. So it's not like oh, I've got a whatever. Yeah. Out west they get a lot more. Hummingbirds they want nectar, sugar. And that's what they have to eat. I mean, it's incredible that they need to eat pure sugar because, for instance, they flap their wings, and I want to make sure 50 to 70 times per second.
That's it.
I'd like to see you. Come on, Julio, give it a try. You got the camera on. There you go. Sorry, that was 3. You didn't even get it per. That was per minute.
That's it. Oh,
anyway. But making it so that tubular flowers, we're going to go through different varieties. But your feeder is going to be basically sugar mix. I do not like using my own sugar where I think it's 1-to-1 mix. I like using the packaged one that's red. And at Bloomers, we sell one that is not a dye. And you want to check that out. You don't want it to be one of the ingredients like dye 2170 or something like that. Ours are dyed red with hibiscus flower. So, and the reason why I like that is because from a distance, I can see how much I have left.
That's good.
Now, on that note, if you leave a glass jar of sugar water out in the sun, it can ferment. And then you'll have drunk hummingbirds. No, actually you won't. You can actually kill your hummingbirds.
Oh my gosh.
So you need to change that. Try to do it. I know it's asking a lot, but if you could do it every 3 or 4 days,
That's not bad.
that would be best. That would be best. Again, it's you don't want that fermented, liquid in there.
Right.
Okay. Now this is where I really wanted to go. Migration. They are another amazing, God thing that. So, hummingbirds fly from Mexico across the Gulf of Mexico straight, 20 hours nonstop, 500 miles. And it just boggles my mind. There used to be an old wives' tale that they ride on the backs of Canadian geese, but not true. Not true.
That's a myth.
And so when they get here, they're like, I can see them panting. They're looking for something to eat. So they get to our shoreline and they start feeding and they work themselves all the way up to into Canada. But they do stay around, like here in Gloucester County, New Jersey, up in New York, up in Delaware. They are on the entire East Coast.
Wow. And
what they're doing is they're having babies. Okay. And then what they'll do is they'll a male will pick out the area where he wants to live. Right. Honey, look what I found.
Nice little place here.
Nice little place. We're going to, and she makes the nest. But what happens is you'll notice, like some people say, do hummingbirds sing? They don't sing. They click. And how's it? Julio's doing? You got to do it in the mic. Sort of. But you'll know them mostly from the beats of their wing that it feels like somebody put a fan on. But the fact that they'll also, that clicking gets real loud during mating time. It's like, hey, look at me. They're trying to get attention. Or when there's a competitor in the area and that they will swoop down and swing around and do these things that to just try to intimidate the other one and they'll dive bomb it. It's
they got that big beak on
they're
them.
aggressive. This is my house.
Yeah, that's right.
This is my house.
Little bird, but tough.
They are. And the female, after they decide on where they're going to live, and hopefully it's in your yard, they'll end up, let's see, they will stay, and it is usually 10 to 40 feet high off the ground. Usually in sometimes in a pine or spruce. They're looking for a V-shaped area. It's tiny, 2 inches across and 1 inch deep. It's hard to see. They lay only about 2 to 3 eggs, and that they incubate them for about 2 weeks, and then they hatch.
Quick.
And then she'll care for them for about 3 weeks. Yep. And that, again, it's feeding nectar, and they do eat insects. Like some people say, that they don't eat nectar. No, they do eat some. They have some protein. They give some protein. I could be a hummingbird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like that?
Give me all sugar. I want a Reese's. I want, so. But
I can see that.
the hummingbirds need to eat a lot. I don't know if I could eat this much. They have a tongue that actually curls up behind their brain, and when they stick it out to get it into the deep flowers like petunias and
honeysuckle,
and all of those, that it goes and they get it in, and it's adapted right for them to do it. And they don't perch, although they will perch to rest. Like, we sell these little tiny swings that actually work, that where they sit on the swing and they're like hanging out. It's like, man, if you had to beat your wings this much, you'd want a break. And so that they usually hover in the air, but they will, if you put it next to your hummingbird feeder, that they will hang out for a little bit. It's important to continue to feed them. Cardinal flower, which is lobelia, is an excellent plant for hummingbirds. They're looking for any of those flowers that are deep throated. They'll do hibiscus. They will do. What did some of the things that you would plant for?
Yeah, like you said, lobelia is a big one. You know, especially red. They like red and orange.
Cardinal flower.
Cardinal flower. Yeah.
Right. What is Lucifer?
Lucifer,
what's the name of that? What's the regular name of that? Help me.
Lucifer.
Come on, we've got it. We've got it in right now.
I know we do.
Catmint, salvia, again, penstemon, delphinium, woodgelia. I mean, it is almost any trumpet-shaped flower that they will use to feed on. There's some new varieties new to us as far as into the production of fuchsias. They absolutely will feed on that. Again, get your feeders up when things are scarce. Like, it's living in a little cool this year, so there's not as many things flowering like they maybe would have production.
That's right. Yeah.
And make sure you keep your hummingbirds. Please keep your hummingbirds clean, because you do have to clean them every once in a while. I'd probably every other fill I'd clean them.
Yeah. And put a little bit of bird bath out there too for them.
A little what?
Water. You know,
water.
They like bird bath.
Yeah, but you have to make sure that it's shallow. So put some stones in the bird bath so they actually can stay on something. All right, we are running short on time, so we got to take a break, and we'll be right back right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. You know, some of our most frequent questions revolve around organic container gardening for houseplants, annuals, and of course, vegetables. Coast of Maine's Bar Harbor Blend Organic Potting Soil is a lightweight soil mixture made with salmon, blueberry, lobster, and other composts, as well as calcium and chitin-rich lobster shells, sphagnum peat, perlite, and kelp meal. It is a great soil. And Coast of Maine's Bar Harbor Organic Potting Soil is rich in organic material, creating lush, disease-resistant plants that require less watering, less feeding. Its rich, dark brown color provides the perfect balance between water retention and drainage needed for healthy plants. Coast of Maine's Bar Harbor Blend Organic Potting Soil is available at these local retailers: Barlow's, Seagirt, New Jersey; Espenshades Garden Centers and Greenhouse, Monton, Pennsylvania; Ashcomb's Farm and Greenhouse, Mechanicsburg, PA. Wanting to up your game in the vegetable garden? With 90 years of organic gardening experience, the Espoma Company has you covered. Espoma Organic Garden Tone is not your average garden variety fertilizer. Garden Tone is especially blended for organic vegetable gardens. Its all-natural formula contains Biotone, a blend of organic ingredients that supplies essential nutrients for strong, healthy plants and mouth-watering vegetables. Its slow-release formula provides continuous feeding. The Biotone contained in Garden Tone is a combination of organic ingredients and beneficial microbes to help roots grow deeper and faster for bigger, more bountiful harvests. Garden Tone is simple to use and safe for people, pets, and the planet. No harmful chemicals or synthetic fertilizers are ever added. You can find Garden Tone at fine garden centers. Visit espoma.com to find a retailer near you. Garden Tone from Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Here are some quick rules to protect your pollinators. We are running out of time. Create a designated garden, no pesticide, even organics, no pesticide garden for pollinators. If you have another garden that you need to spray and insect, do it when there are no flowers present or just before dark, so all the pollinators are in for the night. And most organic insecticides are just as toxic as non-organic. And that last one, Julio, is what? Feed?
Feed the caterpillars, just not the butterfly, not just for the butterflies.
Feed the caterpillars, not just the butterflies. All right, we'll be right back right after this.
If you're like me, then you absolutely love birds. The Bird Sanctuary at Bloomer's Home and Garden Center has you covered. They're dedicated to the care and feeding of wild birds of all sorts. Want to bring more birds to your yard? Then you got to see this place. Bloomers has a huge flock of feeders, birdhouses, birdseed, and much, much more. Want to feed the birds and not the squirrels? They have this absolutely cool bronze bird feeder that will drive those sneaky squirrels nuts. They'll be moving to the next door neighbor in no time. OMG. Bloomers have these absolutely adorable birdhouses that will turn your yard into the perfect bird B&B. They carry all types of wild bird seed, suet, seed cakes, and mealworms. Bloomer stocks, Lyric, Coles, CNS, Pine Tree Farms, and much, much more that will keep those beautiful birds coming back for more. Bloomer's Home and Garden Center is located in Washington Township in Gloucester County. For more information and directions, check them out on the web at bloomers.com. Bloomer's Home and Garden Center, you got to see this place.
Me and Julio, we are way over time. One message. If you have a garden, lawn, or landscape question, please call the hotline at 609-685-1880. Leave your question and we will call you back with the answer. Also, you can hear us on podcasts and also YouTube. We will have a lot of the supporting information on our YouTube page for this show. Again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the garden.
We'll see you in the garden.